On this episode of Cigars and Sea Stories, Bennett and Mike sit down to discuss Independence Day. Yes. Which, I'm just saying, I'm throwing it out there. There's two federal holidays that I give a shit about. One is Independence, the other the Marine Corps birthday, which is not a federal holiday, but it should be, bastards. Anyway, we've got, Veterans Day is immediately following, so I guess you can celebrate that too. But the birth of our nation.
I got all kinds of fun Independence Day facts.
Really?
I do.
I am
a suppository for this type of stuff.
A suppository?
Yeah, suppository. Depository. Fuck.
There you go.
So how many people signed the Declaration of Independence?
Ooh, that's a good question. Shit.
It is.
Damn. How many signers? Of the Declaration? Shit, man, I really don't know.
56.
56. Wow, that's higher than what I would have guessed.
The oldest was Benjamin Franklin at age 70, and the youngest was Edward Rutledge from South Carolina at age 26.
Yeah, if people out there are trying to figure out why Ben Franklin didn't become president, it's because he signed the Declaration when he was fucking 70. The guy would have been ancient.
Right, exactly.
Right.
Exactly. Yeah, man, there's really cool stuff. And out of all those 56, only one guy ever recanted.
Really?
Yeah, and I can't remember his name, but I know that he did it under duress because he was being held prisoner by the British. So you might have to look that up, but I do not remember the guy's name.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not going to hold it against him. You're being held captive at that moment. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, exactly.
I've never
under
been a POW.
duress.
Right.
Yep.
I'm just saying. Does anybody else record with their 9mm on the desk?
I have a 40 in my bag right next to me.
Right. I've got like my 9mm, stogies. I can take notes. This is a professional operation. Just throwing that out there. And in spirit of the conversation, I would say that our forefathers are high-fiving right now. That I'm going condition 1.
Right.
Like, whoop. So
when did Independence Day become a federal legal holiday?
Oh my goodness. 1792.
No.
I have no idea.
1941.
No shit.
Yeah, not until World War II, basically. Almost World War II.
Wow. But we had to have celebrated it anyhow, right?
Yeah, the oldest continuous July celebration is I want to say it's in Rhode Island. And it goes back to like the 1780s.
And what, like 4 people show up? It's Rhode Island. So.
You've only got about 1 million people in the whole state.
Although the handful of listeners in Rhode Island. Sorry about that.
Sorry. Yeah.
No, dude. What was there was another fun piece of Independence Day trivia. Not necessarily Independence Day trivia, but do you know how many people died in the Boston Massacre?
Who? I don't. I do not.
Biggity bing.
1. 4.
4 people.
How do I not know that?
But I'll tell you what, though. By the way, I rag every once in a while, and I'm living in Boston and stuff like that. Great spot to visit. When you do, take a duck boat tour. Take the duck boat tour. It is totally worth it. Totally worth it. Get pictures with the kids, blah, blah, blah. But here's why. Downtown, I can't remember all of it's called the Freedom Trail. You could walk the Freedom Trail and see all of this stuff also. But it's not just like interactive history, blah, blah, blah. It's like, no, you're standing there on the cobblestones as they still look to this day. And you're like, holy shit, that's like Faneuil Hall and where the Boston Massacre took place and all of this other stuff. It's really cool. And right off Milk Street, like you come out of Park Street Station. Wait, I said that wrong. Pack Street Station. Right? Bing, bing. Doors opening. And then when you go straight up, I want to say it's in Milk Street, you look over to your left and you've got the big dome on the Capitol building. Go up Milk Street and there's wrought iron behind a little chapel. Shit, name escapes me right now. But Sam Adams' gravesite is right there.
Wow.
And I believe 2 of the other, I want to say John Hancock's buried in the same graveyard. But
I'm not sure.
I'm not going to lie, it stopped me dead in my tracks. I was just kind of like gnawing on a hoagie one day, going in between meetings, and I look over, I'm like, holy shit, wow. All right. I did not realize I was in the presence of greatness. That's awesome.
Right.
So that and also, if you do visit the city of Boston and you have the time, go out and see where Paul Revere was actually captured. Yeah. Some people don't even know that Paul Revere was captured.
Oh, see, and a lot of people think that all that happened like after we declared independence, and that is incorrect. the like Concord and the battles of Concord and oh God, is it Livingston?
Lexington.
Where Lexington and Concord. So you had Paul Revere. The British are coming. The British are coming.
Right. Which it was the Redcoats are coming because we're all British at the same time. So
right. So, but that happened in like April of 1775.
Yeah.
So at that point, I think, if I'm not mistaken, the Massachusetts colony basically was under like the Parliament, the English Parliament had already declared a state of emergency basically in the Massachusetts colony at that point. And that was like, almost a full year before we actually signed the leaders actually signed the declaration.
All right. So, saying get the fuck out of here. See, I'm telling you, this is not a history lesson. You will not find a bibliography in these fucking show notes. I'm telling you, get fuck, Google it. I don't know.
Right.
I'm not.
Do something.
I don't know. I just love the fact that, look, here's the thing. I'm an educated guy. I see what's happening. The left hand wiggles and the right hand works. Don't get me wrong. But America is America. And I mean, come on. You know what I'm saying? Red, white, and blue and all that other shit. If you actually want to see another kick-ass revolution, study the French Revolution. But I would like to highlight the South does not necessarily get its due in the Revolution, right? And the South is literally where Cornwallis gave up.
Yeah, and that's where a lot of the battle from 1778 was fought. Like the last few years of the war were fought almost exclusively in the South.
Yeah. Well, and
I guess what you would consider the South.
Right. I would. Anything South Maryland, I consider the South.
And see, the other thing that a lot of people don't understand is technically you could almost call the American Revolution the
Civil War?
No. The American Revolution, you could almost call it a world war at the time because you had England, obviously.
Yeah.
France, Spain is a French ally. Mm-hmm. The Dutch got involved. And there wasn't just fighting in the United States and Canada. There was also fighting, overseas, like Gibraltar, and some of the stuff in the Med, and then some of the West and East Indies companies got involved too, even though they were, products of the crown. Yeah, man. Yeah. War is a racket. So you literally had stuff going on all over the world.
Right. Well, and that was one of the things that led to the French Revolution also, is that
they
emptied the coffers in order to help out with us gain our independence, which then we gave them free trade in return, essentially. Well, whatever. It doesn't matter. Again, it's not a goddamn history lesson. But the point is, though, they essentially were bankrupted, which is why the king took flight, and then it kind of spurned the French Revolution. But that's a story for another time. No, dude, you're exactly right. One of the things that I highlight...
That's one of the things that nobody ever talks about, really.
Right. I mean, well, the movie The Patriot depicts the Southern, to whatever extent, the Southern, some of the Southern militia doing work and shit like that.
Yeah.
But we romanticize George Washington for damn good right. We romanticize the guy, which is why you always hear about the exploits of Trenton and Boston and Lexington, Concord, Knox with his famous logistical movement, shit like that. So the South, it was like sweeping victories. That's why. You know what I mean? It's like, no, we're going to hamper you right down here in Charleston. You're fucked. It's happening. Yep. We'll give you a way out.
Some of the cool stuff too, that if you get into reading, I have a degree in this shit, so you know what I mean.
You're a fucking nerd. What you're
pretty much.
I'm
a big American military nerd. Is like some of the stuff that went on with the Native Americans and their contributing to either side. Some were on the side of the Americans, some were on the side of the British, some were on the side of the French. You had, war parties from all kinds of different, and then in the West as well. But the Iroquois is really who it affected the most. It's all kind of cool. If you want to read a different side of the American Revolution.
Dude.
Look at it from that type of, like, the Iroquois Confederacy side in New York. It's pretty crazy, man. Yeah.
I'm telling you right now, if it was me back in the day, I'm shaving up the sides. We're talking full mohawk with maybe like some sort of ponytail. I don't know. With the big ass red beard, full effect, buck skin, rolling around with like a Kentucky long,
right.
You know? Well, they didn't have them at the time, but you know what I mean. A long rifle of sorts, tomahawk. Oh my God. Can you imagine? Like in the Patriot, I was chopping that dude in the fucking... Oh, that'd be some badass shit, man. I'd be rolling around. It'd be awesome. Oh, I'd have to carry like 17 rifles with me wherever I go. I know that seems like a lot, but really it's not. It's just because I don't like reloading. You know, and shit tons of pistols. And yeah, it'd be awesome. I don't know. I'd probably be one of those fur trader dudes. That's for show.
For sure. Rolling around up in like, yeah, well, it's just kind of funny that you're from Michigan.
Oh, yeah. No. Speaking Indian and everything else, learning all the different...
Some freaking Mohegan shit going down.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, no, I was born in the wrong goddamn century. That or else that's exactly what I did. Like, oh, God, what's his name? The dude from The Revenant, Glass. Shit, I can't remember the guy's name. Leonardo DiCaprio.
Oh, yeah.
It like plays
what's
him,
that?
But his real name is something Glass. I'd say I would Google it, but I'm not. Yeah, Hugh Glass is what it is, I believe. Hugh Glass. But that dude, he was mauled by a bear and all this other shit. Fuck yeah, I'd be out there hanging out with Hugh Glass. We'd be rolling around like Mountain Men. Fur trade wouldn't no joke.
Yeah, Hugh Glass.
Making shit tons of money.
1823 frontiersman, Hugh Glass.
So that's a full,
almost, well, it's half a century.
No big whoop. I'm just saying.
No big whoop. What? Hey, at that time, though, like Jefferson and Adams were still alive and all that. So, yeah man. It's just the aftermath of the Revolutionary War. I mean, God, we didn't really, all right, so... Everyone assumes that it just kind of like happened, like the government just popped up and whatnot. And I mean,
right.
And they didn't even elect a Congress or I mean, George Washington didn't even become president until the 1790s.
Right. That's because we were a Federalist nation first.
Right.
And then when we put that together, we were like, oh, this does not work. So, yeah. I think the executive branch was equated to a couple worms spit at that moment in time.
Well, really, the government in general was.
Right. My sentiments exactly.
For about the first, I don't know, 40, 50 years of the country it was. So.
Right. It's interesting, man. I tell you what. I love going and touring all those different places, too, and seeing where these people congregated, like Independence Hall up in Philly, or going to Mount Vernon, Monticello, you know, all the... just
It's kind of what's cool about being around D.C., too. Yeah. You know, it's just the amount of history in that area. But I don't know, man. There's so much. We could go on and on and on. So what is Independence Day, since you said it's one of your 2 days that really only, that really mean anything? What does it actually mean to you?
For me, well, first of all, that's a very good question. Fucking, somebody else would say freedom right now, but that's not it. It sparked an entirely different movement of independent, free peoples living in a whole new way. It's not about necessarily being free so much as it is, you've got an open-ended existence. So finally, there came a time where the government was behind expansion through individuals rather than the government going out in an imperialistic way. Now, one could say, well, what's the difference? And to me, that's the individual nation growing as a whole. So it spurned that kind of like forest fire that took place. So in a government way, though, which is one of those things. I'm on this weird kick right now where I'm reading a lot of George Will and statecraft as soulcraft. So I'm going down that path where government, to whatever extent, should provide the best opportunity to be able to go out and be independent, not hamper your opportunity to go out and do those types of things. And that's what it's.
So I pulled up a paper that I wrote when I wrote actually about the American Revolution and its effects upon like the political climate of the world at the time, right? And basically the revolution sparked in one form or fashion. It's kind of like I guess as people would say, the Arab Spring, I mean, but what I'm just using it as an analogy. I'm not saying the Arab Spring in an actual meaningful way. I'm just saying
how fast it happened.
So from that point, you talk about the French Revolution, which we already covered a little bit, the Haitian Revolution.
Yeah.
Spurred from it, Latin American Wars of Independence, which there were a ton. And then even the Irish Rebellion of 1798 was spurred on by that. And then also the Polish-Lithuanian Commonwealth conflict,
right.
Are all direct. And then, they're all directly correlated to the American Revolution. At least the American Revolution was the spark of that.
Right. Well, it realized, okay, so hear me out on this one. First of all, it open-ended it, but then the government only said this is for white landowners, right? Okay, so let's kind of go there for a second and explore, because that's exactly where it started. It was limited as far as hampered powers by the government, but then it was also limited in the people who essentially had freedom, even though we said we were all equal. But you just hit it nail on the head where all of the other revolutions were occurring. Case in point, Haiti. So specifically, have you heard about Toussaint, right?
Yes.
Who was a slave who then became a general.
Right.
And what did he do? All of the slaves were freed, and then they went back to work for the landowners. So they left the land in the hands of the landowners because slaves wouldn't know what to do with it, essentially, is the way that he reasoned it. And I am cliff noting the shit out of this. But the idea behind it then is he immediately established a basis of commerce. Now slaves are getting paid. The wages were being dispersed. All of a sudden, you had the ability of non-free peoples to now they had some sort, like they had money in their pocket, and it was on their shoulders at this point. Like, we ain't taking care of you anymore. Because that's the other thing. People don't also realize this. When you're let out of slavehood, okay, good. Where are you going to go? What the fuck are you going to do?
Right.
Like, the cage is open. You can't take care of yourself. You have food and water and shelter and everything else here. So unless you're willing or have money in your pocket to go and do that, that right there created an economic expansion. See, so that's the other thing too, is like, we're talking about freedom and how it's open-ended. Like, let me ask you a trick question here. Who's the fastest person in the world? And this is why it's a trick question. Don't know. Not everyone's able to compete.
Yeah, true.
Right? And I said able. I should have said allowed.
Right.
To whatever extent. So now we're opening it up. Well, the problem is that people are worried about deregulating everything, and I get that. But the point is, though, is regulations can be put into place which regulate, let's say, for instance, an entire sector without creating a massive barrier to entry for the little guy. You know what I mean? Which then the opposing argument is you have that massive barrier to entry because you want to make sure that individual has skin in the game and they want to be part of whatever they're doing industry-wise. So, again, it's like that economic slinky factor, and we're just talking about revolution here. Because war is a racket. We essentially got independence so that we could say, well, because what do? We said, fuck off, and then the British left, blah, 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 and then we immediately established trade as an independent nation because we were pissed off that they were taking all of our GDP. So we're like, fuck off. You're getting rich off us. It's like, and some people have the gall to say, oh, it was all about taxes. No, it's the taxes were going somewhere else instead of staying here in the colonies. We didn't fight so that we didn't have to pay taxes. No, you got that wrong. That money is going elsewhere. Yeah. So,
I mean, even after the Treaty of Paris was signed, our single largest trade partner was still Britain.
Yeah.
Which is hysterical.
Well, and the Crown.
You know what I mean? Right. Exactly.
Google the Crown and watch the YouTube video on what is the Crown.
Right.
And all the tributary nations.
Oh, Jesus. It's crazy.
It's fucking huge. Oh, no, the British Empire broke up. Blah, blah. Yeah, whatever.
The Commonwealth.
Right.
The United Kingdom.
Well, it's nuts, man, because it's so funny. Not funny. It's just the timing couldn't be more perfect that we've got this whole Brexit thing that's going on,
Yeah.
And I don't know. I'm one of these people. I'm not an anarchist, but I'm one of these people where I would rather die on my feet than live on my knees. So I love that now Scotland can claim its independency. It's breaking that up. But the thing that we need to pay attention to is what is the currency that's going to be used? Because this might just turn an eye towards a unified currency if everybody can't get along culturally.
Well, they already have one. I mean,
well, right, they've got the EU, or excuse me, they've got the euro, and I get that. And the euro's not very strong.
But Britain doesn't use the euro.
Right, they still use pound sterling.
Correct.
So if they do break everything up, then they would say, okay, we broke everything up, but let's make trade easier and all switch to the euro. Everybody say fuck it.
Yeah, but I don't know. The sterling. Yeah, I doubt that the British will ever come off the sterling or come off the pound just because it is.
Right. See,
it's
again,
just, it works.
Neither one of us, I'm not a fucking expert on currency trade or anything else like that. I just understand that one single currency trading all over the place would probably end up being bad.
Right. Well, I mean, there's all unfortunately, the problem with different currency right now is that there's so much manipulation that goes on.
Yeah.
That who really knows?
Yeah.
But I'm not looking to say, hey, I want some, Amero or anything like that.
Fuck that.
I'm just saying.
And I'm totally cool exchanging bills when I'm going up to Canada. They have way better strip clubs. I'm just throwing that out.
Well, yeah.
Because I'm filthy.
Right.
Love me some Canada.
Dirty.
Stay real, Canada. Dude, I'm telling you, man, we got to go up to Vancouver and all of that other shit at some point in time. We're doing a fucking road trip.
You're rolling like West Coast.
Yeah. Yep. I'm going to go out to Banff. Just go shred nar pow. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Probably don't. God bless America. Sea to shining sea. See, it's awesome, man. It's a patchwork quilt of, 48 on the lower, but 50 states overall that are doing different experiments. And it's cool to me because I'm one of those guys where I understand government needs to exist. It just has to, frankly. I fucking hate that, but it does because it's a unifying factor and you need to live like an American. So then somebody says, well, what does it mean to live like an American? And it's well, start with the Constitution, work your way forward. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, dude, that's why people ask me all the time. They're like, dude, you've been to war or what? I've fought in 2 wars, right? Yeah. So they're like, what is your take on Muslim extremists and all of this other stuff? And I'm like, whoa, here's the thing. I don't believe in Sharia law. I don't do that. That's a system of governance. It's attached somehow, within a religion, but Sharia law, hence why it's called law, L-A-W, law, I don't believe in. I don't live by that. I just don't. It was just cool, Please don't live by that here. Live by American law.
Right.
And that's it. And it's so you're anti-Muslim. No! You practice whatever the fuck you want. You just can't practice Sharia law. That doesn't... What do you mean? I'm sorry, the 10 Commandments? I don't give a fuck about the 10 Commandments in a court of law. Do you?
No.
So, which, they're good guiding principles.
But besides the fact that that's what our justice system, a lot of it is based upon.
Right.
At the end of the day, though, that's where it ends.
Right. The whole separation of church and state and bringing religion out of it and prayer and everything else and blah, blah, blah. It's been a huge thing. It's for instance, when Muslims prayed in the Capitol, the only thing about that upset me was the fact that they had prayer in a state building.
I don't even care.
Could have been anybody.
Yeah, I don't care.
And it's not even I care. It's just what I'm trying to get at, though, is I don't give a shit who it is. I'm just saying, okay, the guideline stipulates go do your fucking prayer circle outside. And that's totally cool. It's okay, I got you.
Well, my thing is this, is that if it's allowed for one, it has to be allowed for all.
Right, there you go.
And that's the way that I look at it. So, again, it's freedom of religion, not freedom from it.
Right.
So everyone has their right, to worship as they see fit.
Yeah.
Right? But they have that right. It doesn't bring up it doesn't bring up anything about forcing it upon people. But at the end of the day, some religions have a tendency to do that. In fact, all of them really do. Or else they wouldn't advertise, because they all, at the end of, again, I'm going to say it again, at the end of the day, all religion, if there is a church involved, is a business.
Yeah, there you go.
So, and people can debate me on this all they want, and that's fine. And I am a fairly religious person. I'm not. It's not as much of a straight religion as it is a spiritual type whatever. But I have issues with churches or synagogues or mosques,
organization,
because those are made by men, and you can fight the the church was created by God or whatever, all that you want, but I don't see, is there some kind of like special connection between the spire of a church? Right. Like if I pray there, am I actually closer to God?
Right.
No, I mean, and that's my argument is I am just as close to God praying in my house as I am in a church. And if you want to get down to brass tacks, I mean, we're getting kind of religious here. That holy men back in the day were kind of instituted because they could read. No one else could freaking read.
Right.
So they were the ones that passed on the word because they were the only ones that could read.
Yeah. Same thing that's happening in Afghanistan. The only, I mean, primarily the literate citizens
So talk about hijacking a religion.
Right.
I mean, look at the Crusades. Do you think God really wanted the Crusades to happen? Right. No. The Christian and Muslim religions were hijacked. So you can take what I'm saying at face value, but read the history books. Mm-hmm. And you can always, there's that argument, history is written by the victors. And that's true, but you can also find the inverse side of that just by the way things ended up.
Well, but
it's common freaking sense.
But that's the thing, though, is that like a system of government based on a faith basis doesn't work. It just doesn't work. It winds up being just a black hole, right? So that's the reason why there's that separation to begin with. And then
frankly, that's what nationalism is. Nationalism is just a different form of religion to an extent. You worship the state.
Oh, yeah, I see what you're saying. Yeah.
So do you understand? So you can take it and put that theory into anything. Yeah. And I'm not some kind of anarchist.
No.
I believe that there needs, but frankly, a true representative republic is the way to go.
Right.
Because it has checks and balances. It has everything else. And unfortunately, our country is kind of headed down the path of being a ruling class within itself is kind of messing it up for our liberty, and a lot of things are being encroached upon by these people that think they know better on how, because we the people are allowing them to dictate. We just want to be left alone, just like people in Afghanistan or Iraq. The average person walking down the street wanted nothing to do with Saddam or Hamid Karzai or the Taliban. They just want to raise their fucking family.
Right.
They just want to freaking live in peace, grow poppy, grow freaking weed, grow freaking corn, whatever the hell. Just like we do here. We don't want to be burdened with it. So in turn, the loudest voices are the ones that are heard. And yeah.
Right.
And until we kind of gather that and don't put up with the shit as a whole and go, yeah, well, I want to be left alone, but the best way for me to be left alone is to actually engage myself for about 10 years and then I can go back to the farm.
Right.
But that's what used to happen. People would get pissed. They would go into town. They would freaking become elected officials. They'd fix what they wanted to fix and then they'd go back to the farm.
Right. See, but here's the thing though, man, like
it sounds too simplistic.
Well, it is.
And it is. But in reality, it's still the same.
It is. It's just jumping to the right faction in order to make something happen. But the thing is, though, the easiest way to put it, I guess, is the representation that we have right now has become a representation professional grade class to where anybody can be a part of it to an extent. However, you've got to go, you know how it is. You got to go to the right school, know the right people, so on and so forth. You got to fundraise and so on and so forth.
You got to sell your soul because unfortunately, again, it's like we said, war is a racket.
Right.
Corporations rule our country. Corporations run it. It has nothing to do with the people or politicians.
Well, right.
And that's a fact. And anyone that disputes it is fooling themselves.
Right. So that's the other thing too, is I love this because, and God, I hope George Quill isn't listening going like, this guy's a fuckwad. But what I love is that he specifically describes the place of it as a tool, a resource that is available in order to elevate and get to the next level, and so on and so forth. It is an enabling body that allows its citizenry to go out and be empowered and do what it wants to do, and so on and so forth. The problem is that it used to be when you're like 18 years old, you can just do whatever the fuck you want now. And then they were like, well, no, you can't drink. Oh, well, no, insurance at 25 for rental cars and blah, blah, blah. Slowly but surely, as you're going, it's like, wait, no, when do I get to do whatever the fuck I want?
What was that all about? It was all about protection.
Right.
Security and money.
Right.
That's what that was all about.
And so, and this fucking peeves me to no end. Helmet laws and seatbelt laws. And the argument for helmet laws is always, oh, they need to have a helmet because if we treat the guy in the ER and he doesn't have insurance or whatever, or he's fucked up, we still have to treat him. That doesn't matter. If you wear a helmet or not, if you do not have insurance, those are two separate factors.
Correct.
Right? And so the problem that I see is you're looking at somebody going, this is for your own good. Like, don't tell me this is for my own good. Like, I will fuck you up. Right? You know what I mean? Like, never, ever, ever say this is for your own good. That's immediately after that, they shove fucking tongue depressors in your mouth and electrodes to your balls. Like, this is not happening.
That's what half the laws in our country are made on.
Exactly. Oh, this is for your fuck you.
This is for your own good, or someone's making money off of it.
Exactly. And they're saying this is for your own good.
Right. Yeah, exactly. I mean, who do you think wrote? Look at any major bill within the last 25 years.
Yeah.
And most of them weren't even written by a politician. They were written by a special interest group paid by a corporation. I mean, do you think the Affordable Care Act or Obamacare, whatever you want to call it, who was that written by? Sure as hell wasn't Obama.
No, fuck no.
It sure as hell wasn't Nancy Pelosi.
Can you picture him, though?
Dig into it. Seriously, America, look into who actually writes the bills, and you will be appalled.
Right.
I mean, we're listening to, most of our listeners, we're kind of preaching to the choir with this stuff, frankly. But, you know.
Well, and it still strikes the chord also of Independence Day. You got to keep in mind.
It does.
Because we're circling back around to it. Like, you know, one of the things that we were talking about earlier, my old man suggested this. He said, if you have a DD-214, you should never pay a tax ever on anything. Sales tax, income tax. If you have a DD-214, you should never, ever, ever pay any tax whatsoever. Fuck yeah, I agree with that. That's awesome. Why not? Like, what do you mean?
What are we living, or what are we in, Starship Troopers here?
Right, there you go.
Are the only people being able to vote are people that, you know, gain their, well, in that story, the only way to gain citizenship is to actually join the military.
Right.
And if you haven't read that, by the way, folks, Starship Troopers, fantastic book. Don't let the movie twist you.
Okay,
because that movie is horrible, but the book is amazing. Just saying.
So here's the counter argument to this. The real counter argument. You would have an immediate ramp up. Like, I guarantee if you said all veterans who possess a DD-214 no longer pay tax, you would never need to recruit ever again to go into the military. Ever.
No, never.
Ever. You would have like cream of the crop going and all sorts of stuff.
Yeah.
It would almost ramp up in a military industrial complex.
Well, even more than it already is.
Even more than it already is. But there are so few within our population that have a DD-214.
Well, less than 10%.
Right.
316 million Americans, I think, right now. 22 million of them are veterans. Almost 23 million.
I mean, think about it though. Like, never again ever pay another tax. It's like, I don't know. I don't know if it would be a federal law or if you would get states to sign on to it first.
Well, there are states that do have some pretty generous, I guess you could call them benefits package for veterans. I mean, most states, a lot of states have like property tax breaks. New York is one of them. I'm intimately aware with that. And you can get up to 100% on your property taxes, not on school taxes, but on property taxes. North Carolina, I think, is also a state that offers a property tax break. But I think you have to be, there's all kinds of, there's classifications for it, but at the, so there's a lot of state stuff. I mean, there really isn't anything other than disability pension and compensation from the federal government for veterans, at least in that type of essence. You don't get federal tax break or anything like that.
Right. Now, here's the other issue with this, though. There, aside from retirement or basis of discharge or something along those lines, there is not another threshold, let's say, for instance, or another wicket, check in the box, whatever. So, like, if you possess a DD-214, you're a veteran, right? By definition.
By definition.
One would argue...
that and I am in the perfect spot to kind of be like, in quotations, because wow, there's some people that have a DD-214 and you're like, okay.
Right.
And
So there you go. So then the argument is, how about, let's say, for instance, if you had a Sea Service Deployment ribbon, if you had a Combat Action ribbon, so on and so forth, and then you have other stipulations. Well, how did you discharge, blah, blah, blah. So aside from a DD-214, where every single human being who got out of the military now has a DD-214, now you could look at discharge, and then each one would be a case-by-case basis. So that's the thing, is that you don't have, aside from the DD-214 or retirement, right? Retirees are put into a different database, I believe, from, he's this honorable discharge, like 8 years honorable discharge, 4 years dishonorable discharge, whatever. I don't know. I have no idea. It's fun to think about. I mean, I'm just kind of like, I like throwing out the debate, so I don't know. Try wrapping your brain around that one. But I would love to just never pay taxes ever again. I don't think it's going to fucking happen.
Pretty sure it's not going to happen, because they'd be like, well, that's not fair.
Death and taxes.
How is Raleigh not considered one of the best places, top 10 places for veterans to live?
I don't know, but it's got to be. I mean,
maybe it is for careers. Hold on.
Dude, I'll tell you what Raleigh beats this shit. Like, right now, Rollsville, which is north of Raleigh, and it's actually in between where I live and Raleigh, up 401, I believe is the fastest growing community in America right now. And it doubled in population over the past year, I believe. And I can tell you, there are shit tons of brand new housing developments over there, and they built a new high school and all of this other stuff. It's gorgeous. And the 401 bypass, oh my God, awesome piece of road. I know, it's just a piece, asphalt, but driving through Rollsville, it's a lovely place. It's 25 miles an hour, and when you're on the Rollsville bypass, set cruise control for 60, folks. This is happening. So,
number one place, and I saw this a little while ago, and you and I haven't talked about it, but I guess it kind of goes along with what we're talking about with independence and after we get out of the military, and just kind of, trying to, live out there and in the best place for a veteran to live, So entrepreneur wise, number one this year was Asheville, North Carolina.
Oh yeah, I heard.
Yeah. I had read about it, and I didn't read why exactly, but I was surprised. But I also love Asheville. It's pretty awesome. I mean, it's gorgeous.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. Yeah. And has one of the best VAs in the country. So not all VAs are horrifically bad, folks.
Yeah. We've got Durham.
Durham's not bad either. No. But as soon as you get it south of Durham, get towards Fayetteville, it's horrible. Yeah. Number two is Sarasota, Florida. No thanks. West Palm Beach, Florida. Staunton, Virginia. Which is kind of cool.
Yeah.
Actually, we have an EBV brother that owns a CrossFit gym in Staunton.
Oh, yeah.
Him and his wife. Yeah, Phil.
Yeah, he was a pianist.
And then you got Prescott, Arizona, which is a really cool place if you've never been there. An hour and a half north of Phoenix. And then number 6, Wilmington, North Carolina.
Nice. Well, dude, I don't know if you've seen recently, but Forbes did a piece on Wilmington.
Yeah.
And its incubator scene and everything.
It's like, I'm telling you, dude, if I had been able to find a job there, I would have never left.
Dude, I'll tell you.
I know.
We'll put a baller status vacation home out there, and then we'll just kind of like circulate through.
Like on Wrightsville Beach.
This is fucking happening.
Oh,
Subscribe, people. Subscribe. I want to get a goddamn beach house.
And then guess what? Number 7, Missoula, Montana, dude.
Yeah, big sky. Big sky out there.
Then Florida, another Florida, Fort Lauderdale, Florida, Oklahoma City, another Florida, Fort Walton. So that's all entrepreneur stuff. Then you've got actual career.
Yeah.
Oklahoma City, number 1. Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, number 2. Houston, Texas, number 3. Fort Lauderdale, New Orleans, St. Louis, Virginia Beach, which is another cool ass place. Cleveland, Ohio, the mistake by the lake. It's to live in Ohio. I mean, Cleveland of all places, unless you like basketball, I guess.
I don't know. Go Blue.
Dallas, Texas, then San Antonio. I'm all game to live in Texas. That's just
right.
But
I invited anybody and everybody to move out to the Raleigh area and start hooking and jabbing with us down in RTP. Folks,
cool.
If you have not already done so, you need to subscribe, rate, and review the podcast time now. We've only got like 15 or 16 reviews on iTunes. Can you guys help us out there? Can you
Please? If you need, you know what? Maybe I'll do a tutorial on how to do it, because it is kind of a pain in the ass.
Is it?
But we really appreciate it. So maybe I'll just like put up some instructions, because sometimes it is. It's a pain in the ass.
Yeah. We're going to have other stuff that's coming out also, like different resources, gear lists. Every once in a while we're running surveys and stuff, seeing what you want to, wear apparel wise, if that's something that you want to do, or maybe you want some, I don't know, kick-ass gear, whatever. Give us the heads up. I mean, this is a for-profit show. We're talking about Independence Day, which is pretty much what it boils down to. We just, you guys can fuck off. All of our money staying here. So, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's kind of like, I boiled it way down.
Right.
I don't know. I went John Hancock on it.
That's it. First and biggest signature.
Yeah. He said so that the king could read it without wearing his spectacles.
Yes. Fantastic.
I really like that. It's a gigantic fuck you.
It really is. It really is.
And then the king's like, oh yeah, I'm going to rip you apart. I'm going to draw and quarter you, which is where they tie your 4 appendages to different horses and then send them off in different places. And you just rip apart, die violently. So, and then he was going to ship all of his parts to the different corners of the empire.
William Wallace wise.
That did not happen.
No.
Suck it.
George. Suck it, George.
And on that note, we cue the music.
We are proud to claim the title of United States.